So you want to learn to drive a stick shift? Well, you're in the right place because I'm going to teach you how. Stick around to the end for some extra tips and an easy way to take off on a hill. Welcome to Epically Simple Basics. I'm JR, and remember to hit the subscribe button to stay up to date on all of the basic life lessons that I teach you. I want to say thank you to Poynters Auto for letting me get the footage for this video and showing you how to shift the gears and push the clutch and all that good stuff. So big thank you to them. Link to their website and contact info in the description. Be sure to check them out if you're ever in the Southern Kentucky area and needing a car. Find yourself a big empty parking lot to practice in. One of the first things that you're going to want to do is learn how to drive with your left hand and just your left hand, because a lot of times you're going to be using your right hand to shift the gears. So you want to be able to keep control of the car with your left hand and shift the gears with your right hand. One of the first things you're going to notice when you get into a stick shift is there's an extra pedal. From left to right you have clutch, brake, and gas. If you, as an automatic driver, use your left foot to brake and your right foot to gas, it's time to cut that out, because you're going to be using your left foot for the clutch and you're going to be using it a lot. So you got to use your right foot for the brake and the gas. Now you're going to want to adjust your seat so you can comfortably push the clutch all the way to the floor. You don't want to be stretched way out, and you want it to be comfortable because, like I said, you're going to be doing it a lot. Take some time to get a feel for the car and get comfortable with it and learn where everything's at. You want to know where the e-brake is. Is it a handbrake? Is it a pedal? You want to know how many gears it's got. You want to know where reverse is in orientation with the gears and how to put the car in reverse. Now before you start the car and get ready to take off, get a feel for the gears and the clutch. You see how strong the clutch is. Push it, let it out a few times, run it through the gears a few times with the engine off, run through all the gears, all the way up, all the way down, put it in reverse a couple of times. Just get a feel for the vehicle. Now there's going to be a lot of practicing to start out with, so go ahead and start the car. And when you do this, most stick shifts will have a neutral safety switch, meaning that you have to push the clutch all the way to the floor before it will actually start. Now with the car running, push the brake, push the clutch all the way in, put the car in first or reverse, slowly and gently let up on the clutch until the engine just barely starts to bog down. When it starts to bog down, then push the clutch back in. Now you want to repeat this several times until you build up the muscle memory in your leg, so your leg will remember that position to where the clutch starts to engage. Practice this several times until you can pull the clutch up just enough till it starts to engage, the engine starts to bog down, but it doesn't kill it. If you do bring it up too much and it kills the engine, that's okay. Push the clutch again, start it back up. Keep practicing until you can hold it in that engagement spot without killing the engine. Now you found the engagement spot, go ahead and put the car in neutral. It's time to play with the gas a little bit. So just feather the throttle until you can hold it at roughly between 1500 and 2000 RPM. Now when you feel comfortable that you've got your muscle memory built up enough that you can find that engagement point and you've played with the throttle enough that you can get it to a good amount of gas without over revving it, then it's time to practice taking off. Now this is the hardest part of driving a stick, so it might take a few tries, but if you've got that engagement point, it should be fairly easy. With the engine running, hold the brake, release your e-brake, push the clutch in, put the car in gear. Release the clutch just enough to where you can find that engagement point. You should have practiced this earlier. If you kill the car, start it back up and keep practicing. You want to find that engagement point first. Once you've got it pulled up to that engagement point, you can let off of the brake and the car should start to move by itself without you even touching the gas at all. As the car starts to move and starts to build up speed, you can very slowly and very gently release the clutch the rest of the way out. Now to stop, simply push the clutch in and then ease on the brake. When you come to a complete stop, if you plan to shut the car off or let off of the clutch at all, remember to take it out of gear so that the transmission's in neutral. Now take a little while to practice taking off and practice coming to a smooth stop. Practice that several times until you can do that smoothly. Now it's time to add a little gas to the process. Practice taking off again, except this time, as soon as the car starts to move on its own, very gently ease onto the gas. Remember your muscle memory holding it at roughly between 1500 and 2000 RPM. At the same time that you're easing on the gas, that's when you can slowly and gently release the clutch all the way out. Taking off in reverse is the exact same process as taking off in forward. You simply bring it up to the engagement point, let the car start to move, you can gently add some gas to it. The only difference is if you let that clutch all the way out while going in reverse, you can get to going to some pretty uncomfortable speeds going backwards. So it's better just to feather the clutch, meaning you bring it up to to the engagement point, you let the car move, you push the clutch back down and just let it coast. If it slows down too much, you can just very gently touch that engagement point again and let the car keep going. Now it's time to practice shifting. Most stick shifts will have either a tachometer, which shows you how fast the engine's going, or it'll have a shift light, which will come on and indicate to tell you when to shift either up or down. So get the car moving, get up to speed, push the clutch all the way in, move the gear shift from first back into second, and very gently bring it up to hit that engagement point. As you begin to hit the engagement point, very gently ease on the gas and at the same time let out on the clutch. All of this should be very smooth and have no jerk in it at all. At this point in the process, you should still be practicing in an empty parking lot, so don't get it so fast that you get out of second gear. Practice taking off, shifting from first to second, and then coming to a slow, smooth stop. Once you're comfortable with this process, you can take off smoothly, you can stop smoothly, and you can shift without getting any kind of shift shock. Then you're ready for road speed. Take it out on the road, a short stretch of non-busy road should do plenty. Shifting to your other gears is very similar from going from first to second. You're just at higher speeds. Every time you shift, you push the clutch in, you move the shifter, gently release the clutch till it hits the engagement point, gently add gas, and then release the clutch. Now we'll talk about downshifting for a minute. You can slow down while you're driving without pushing the clutch in or changing gears, but if you're in a higher gear and you slow down too much, you're going to notice that the engine is bogged down quite a bit and it's extremely hard to build your speed back up. Some shift lights will also have a downshift light, which will indicate that you're supposed to shift to the next lower gear. When you're ready to downshift, it's similar to upshifting, you're just going into a lower gear. Push the clutch in, shift to your next lowest gear, gently release the clutch till it hits the engagement point. Depending on your vehicle, you may notice a change in the engine speed. The tachometer might shoot up a little bit. Give it enough gas to match the engine speed, then gently release the clutch. Just like upshifting, regular shifting should not result in any kind of shift shock. Once you shift into that gear, you should be able to give it gas and speed back up to your normal driving speed, or you can just not touch the gas and let the engine slow the car down. Couple of final tips to close out the video here. Most experts generally agree that it's not a good idea to rest your hand on the shifter while you're driving and not shifting. Doing that can cause strain on the gears and the cogs within the transmission and cause premature wear. When you're parking a stick shift vehicle, remember to put on the e-brake and leave the vehicle in gear. Now with the automatic transmission, it actually has a little pin that goes into the transmission to keep the vehicle still. Stick shifts don't have that. You have to leave it in gear so it uses the compression of the engine, and the e-brake helps to hold it still too. Now while taking off is definitely the hardest part of driving a stick, what's even harder than that is trying to take off on a hill. So here's a little secret tip to how to do that. If you're in a car that has a handbrake, set your handbrake, then you can let off the brake and the car won't move. When you set the e-brake, remember to keep the button depressed so that it doesn't lock into place and you can manually adjust the force of the e-brake. And take your foot off brake. When it's time to take off, do like you practiced. Raise your foot up, find the engagement point, gently get onto the gas. Since you're on a slope, this is going to be a little bit harder to do. You might have to give it more gas. You might have to let out on the clutch a little bit more. Once you feel the car start to move, then you can let out on the e-brake, then it should just take right off. If you've got any tips, tricks, strategies, or hacks for driving a stick shift, let us know in the comments so we can all learn from you too. Now there's a lot of different reasons that you might want to learn to drive a stick shift. Maybe you want to look cool for that pretty girl that you got the crush on. Maybe you want to get better gas mileage, or maybe you just want to have more control. And there's a lot of different reasons you might want to learn how to drive a stick. And for whatever reason you have for wanting to learn, now you know. Thanks for watching. It's always great to have you here at Epically Simple Basics. If you liked the video or if you found it helpful, give me a thumbs up. If you didn't like something about it, give me a thumbs down. But leave a comment and tell me why so I can improve my later videos. Remember to subscribe and ring the bell so you can stay up to date on all the lessons that I provide for you. And remember, keep learning and have fun.